Hello and welcome back to Civ Skylines. I'm Pop Ponderosa and this is the beginning of round 2. We are playing on the Terreggia map with the hexagonal tiles. Right here you can see we've got the build I worked on last time. We're going to take a slightly different approach this time to how we build. I'm not going to buy 3 tiles as Sunny explained on his episode. We're going to buy 1 tile that is a normal buildable tile and a second tile that is either water or mountain to help us get to where we need to go if we need so. I'll get to buying tiles in a moment, but first I want to take a recommendation because I did ask for naming suggestions. So Eric, who's a longtime subscriber and commenter, suggested that I call this Prospect Ridge, and I really like that name. One of the reasons I really like that, or 2 of the reasons actually, is A, we're definitely on a ridge here, or you could even say that the mountains are somewhat of a ridge, and say you're looking at the skyline here, you've got this ridge, and I could imagine that there's some history here where prospectors came to either get land or find resources and wealth. Before I move on to my build today, I do want to have a quick look at the other builds. So here's our build from Lemons, and it is very nice. I don't see a city name. I'm guessing that he's asked for one as well. So go check out their episodes if you haven't already. They will be linked in the description, and there's also a playlist with all the episodes in it as well. I really like how Lemons has done these 3 distinct tiles. One is residential and commercial. You've got another industrial tile here, and then a university tile right up against the mountains. If you play Civilization, you know. And here we have this awesome Eastern European build from Sunny Scunny, currently called New City. I believe he's also taking recommendations if you want to go check out that episode and give him one. Similar to Lemons, we've got some distinct tiles. Here we've got an industrial tile. This is more of a city center tile, very built up, but also very organized. Like, look at this plaza, and this nice train station there. Just back to Lemons for a second, you'll notice that he also has a train station for passengers and a cargo terminal. But we don't have any trains connected up to our cities yet. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to build us a rail yard so that we can get trains going to our cities. And I'm going to do it up here where there is a rail line. So we're going to go ahead and purchase our tiles. We'll need this one to build our rail yard, and then we will need this one. I was intending on building out this rail line through the mountains. So let's go ahead and purchase our tiles. Let's see if we can get our rail line going through here. I'm going to start by prepping the land a little bit, and I'm going to blast through this first part of the hill, and I'll leave some of it behind, and you'll see the effect I'm going for shortly. And then we're going to tunnel through this second part and connect up over here. So let's get that going, shall we? Now I'm going to have to work on these tunnel entrances a little bit. Okay, so let's have a look at what we've done here. We've blasted through this section of the hill, and we've tunneled through, and it's fairly flat. We've got this bridge section of this valley, and it comes through, and I cleaned this up so it looks a lot better. Now the next thing is to connect this up to the existing rail line. Next we'll be putting in our rail yard. So if we head over here, we've got a lot of nice stations from Tygon. And we have the vanilla one, but it's very large, and I won't really have enough room to actually manage the rail lines and make them turn in a reasonable way to get to this. But I think we can manage with what I think is the medium rail depot long. This is a much nicer size, and I'm going to push it up against the edge of this tile here, next to what is actually a cabin over here, so I'm going to watch out for that. And I'm going to try and line it up with the edge of the tile here. And I'll have to use Anarchy to connect the rail here, just like I did over there. Now for this part, I'm going to use the electrified line. You'll notice that through my city, I'm using the non-electrified line, but I know that Sunny Scunny's build does use the electrified line, so we will use that too. So I think that's looking pretty good. Now obviously we'll need to connect this up to our city services, and then we'll connect up our rail line as well. So we need to get a road in here. Let's use a gravel road. So I think that's a good start to that road, but we're actually going to need to bring it over from this city. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to tunnel through, I think, this section of mountain here, and then try and snake along the side of the tile boundary here. And we'll have to come in across maybe somewhere at 90 degrees across this point of the rail line, so I'm not crossing it twice. So I'll have to wind around and then meet back up here. I think that's my plan. As for where I'm going to connect in the town, I did consider connecting up right here, but I don't really want any of that traffic going through there. I think I'm going to connect up to this existing road that is meant for servicing our groundwater pumping station. Okay, that took a little more manipulating of the terrain than I was hoping for, but I did eventually get some pretty clean tunnel entrances. I'll have to work on the terrain to make it look a little more natural. So let's do that now. Okay, I'm feeling pretty good about how this road is coming through here. I seem to be still missing some utilities here. Let's double check what's missing. I think it might be across this bridge. Yeah, this bridge is not supporting utilities. So let's just connect those and let's see if it fixes our problem. Yep, it did. Now, let's make our first rail line. Make sure it's all working. So I have a cargo route that is from my train station here. Let's create one from that platform. And let's take it out here and then back to there. Oh, here we go. So I think in the interest of saving these 6 trains from this depot, I will just make this route for 1 train for now. Now I'll let generic Lemons and Sunny Scunny set up their own rail lines in their own time. Now our next order of business should be to actually extend our district. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're including this area in our services. So I just cleaned up the district there, made it look really nice. Okay, now that we have that all set up, the next couple things I want to do are set up some specialized industries. I'm planning on having a stone mine in this area. It won't be a large one, but I think it'll fit in there nicely, use up that space, and then we'll have a forestry industry over here. And then after all of that's done, I'm going to do something over here related to the forestry industry, and we'll get there. Now that we've got an area to work in, we're going to see if we can put in our stone mine. Again, it's not going to be that large. I don't want it attached right up against the road. There we go. And as we finish up our parking lot, we've got a couple bears walking through there. Okay, now that we've got some parking, let's get our stone mine in here. Okay, now I think that's a more reasonable fence. Instead of it wrapping all the way around, it kind of goes just for the part that really matters, because people might not be walking up into the hills and falling in there. It is a bit close to the neighborhood, but that happens, and it fits nicely into there. The next objective is to set up our forestry industry. So in order to do that, we should plant some more trees in this area. I'm going to make it nice and thick, and I'm going to use the evergreen brush. Now here I am going to extend this out a little bit, and I'm going to add a roundabout. I do want some parking, some industry here before it goes into the forestry area. I think that's looking pretty good. Let's see what we can get in terms of parking. So I decided to extend that out a little bit further. Okay, now I'm going to place down my forestry industry. Maybe put it over in the corner here, and it'll service this whole area. There we go. So we have our forestry industry, and that's going to start getting some resources from this area. From there, I'd like to try and find some industrial buildings. Let's look for forestry. Let's sort these by size as well, so we can get some storage lots that are 5 deep. So we'll put a storage lot there, a storage lot there. And we're gonna see if we can put in some warehouses. Let's see if we can get one there. Let's get another one, maybe right up against there. Now I found a few uses that look like they might be appropriate in this area. I'm hoping that these lots eventually fill up with lumber from our forestry industry. I'm feeling pretty good about how the size of this looks. I'd like to move on to this area over here, and the way I'm going to do this is it's going to be terraced down. I want to eventually have a highway running along here, I think so. I'm going to try and reserve that at this moment by putting in a 2-lane, 2-way highway. And I'm okay with that the way it is for now. It doesn't really connect to anything at the moment, but this is really more of a placeholder for me. So I'm going to cross the railroad tracks here, and then I think I'll come down like that. I'd like to change this road to 1 way. Create some sort of circulation pattern in there. I'm going to add some parking in here. Now I'm liking the look of this building here to sit back here. Got lots of parking. I think I might actually move these a little bit closer. Next part here, I'm going to be using a bit of anarchy to go slightly outside of this tile. I think that's acceptable. We've kind of been doing that a little bit in all of our builds. Lemons has a pier that goes out into this area, and Sunny has this, I think it's an oil tanker. Yeah, that's epic. Wow. So let's get into this part of the build. I'm going to pull out the terrain a little bit here. So on the other side, I do have these log storage areas, and I've removed all of the surfaces, fences, and everything from them with Better Bulldozer. But on this side, I think I'm going to put in some logs because I do want to at least have that appearance if it does take a while to get there. So let's put in a few of these log pile smalls, and we're going to make them, I think, pretty random as we go. So let's make a few rows of those. And they're all floating a little bit, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate these. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Looks like there's a bit of variation in the types of logs here, which I do like. I mean, we do have a bit of mixture in our forest. Still nothing popping up in these ones over here, so let's keep this going for now. Just a few random ones around. I did see that, or a few have randomly not made it into the sorting process, I guess. Let's see if we can fix those with a little bit of rotation so they're not floating all crazy like. Okay, so something else I noticed in some of these areas is piles of what I assume are maybe wood chips or sawdust from cutting the logs and part of the sorting and maybe sawing process. So I've been looking through some of these piles, and the ore pile or the sand pile look like they could be sawdust. I'm going to go with the ore pile just because it has a little bit more of that kind of reddy color that some of these logs have. So maybe let's, I could use a little bit of both. Maybe this is like wood chips. Gonna see if I can fuse a couple of those together. And then this one's maybe more like the actual sawdust. I want to see if I can find some appropriate vehicles to put in here that have been doing some of the sorting and whatnot. So I think a dump truck seems appropriate, something like that. Now this excavator looks a little bit too big for this build. So I think I'm going to maybe try something a little bit different. I noticed there was this forwarder asset. I think this one looks good for maybe doing some of the actual sorting of the logs. So I'm gonna just pop one maybe somewhere up here. Looks like it's been doing some work. Then I think I need the forwarder attachment, which I believe attaches on just like that. Now I could be totally wrong. If you know about this kind of stuff and I am wrong, I guess let me know. I'm learning. So that's been doing something there. Let's see if I can find a few more vehicles that seem appropriate, and we'll see what we come up with. Okay, it's feeling a little more alive now with a few vehicles in there. I think I'm going to see if I can find maybe some sort of small buildings, like little sheds that could maybe go in here. Thought it would also probably make sense if there was somewhere for these vehicles to be fueling up. There are some fuel tanks over here, so it would make some sense to me. Now I am going to get rid of the surface that's on here, and that one too. I'm not quite sure how to get rid of those. If anyone does know, let me know. But I think I will maybe throw a big surface or a few surfaces over some of these. So let's do that, and we'll get back to you in a sec. Okay, so I've added Sully's riverbed thin over all of this. I will come in with some trees afterwards to kind of try and hide some of this, some of the edges, but I am going to do a little more surface detailing. Okay, I have to add Sully's riverbed thin back in here. I've done a lot of detailing here, and I'm enjoying how it's looking. One thing I do want to really move on to is I've been wanting to make timber rafts. Now, timber rafts are something that are very common in British Columbia, Canada. You'll see them all up and down the coast. You'll see tugboats pulling them, and you'll see them docked in ports and just sitting almost anywhere. They'll be stored beside the airport or beside UBC or out in a bay randomly somewhere or near a log sorting facility just like this. So I'm going to need Move It and Enter key to do this. Now if I go and try and place a pile of logs, it's just going to sink underneath the water. So what I'll need to do is I'll need to create my log, some people call them log booms or a timber raft. I'll need to make that pattern on land, and then I'm going to have to use Move It to bring it out into the water. So let's create one that will be here, and it'll be a nice long one with a few different logs in it. So let's go ahead and do that now. Now you will often see these rafts framed with logs. They're kind of chained together around the outside to keep the rest of the logs that are bundled together staying in. Oops, going to need to fix that one. Okay, now that we've got this timber raft here, I'm going to select them all and see how it goes here. Let's move them out all into the water, nestle them into this little cove right here, and then let's drop them down into the water. I want them to start sinking into the water, but I don't want to lose total sight of them, especially those ones around the outside. So I think that's how that's going to look there. There. Nice. Let's fix up this cliff. Okay, that looks a little bit better, not so harsh. I'm going to put in some more trees here maybe as well. It's just a nice backdrop. Although I realize I'm coming outside of my tile and technically cheating a little bit here, but you know what? I think it's worth it. I'm going to spend a little bit of time making maybe 1 or 2 more of these log rafts, There we go. I dropped a few more logs in here. I made one more timber raft that goes over here. Otherwise, I put in this kind of log boom, I guess, that is meant to catch and sort the logs as they're in the water here. That was something I noticed when looking at my resource material. Yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. I've noticed that the 2 storage areas that I put here haven't filled up yet. These ones are, I don't know if they're, yeah, they've got lots of room, and these ones haven't even gotten anything yet at all. And they're right here, so I'm guessing they'll service these ones first. Yeah, so I think that those will take a while to sort out, but I did throw a few extra logs around this area just to show that it is somewhat active. I've got these storage areas where you see lots of different equipment and a couple little containers and these little sheds for storing all kinds of stuff. Who knows what kind of chemicals and stuff they're storing over there. Somebody's fueling up their car right now. I decided to use these park maintenance trucks. Yes, what does they say on them? City, park, district. I can't believe I can zoom in this far on this. Maintenance and grounds facility. They have a tree on them, and I feel like that just kind of suits the vibe of this, so they just kind of look like the company work trucks. Got this area here, over here, I used a different surface that looks like maybe it's got a little bit more of the sawdust and stuff. Yeah, I mean, the riprap detailing and everything, the log booms, the timber rafts really sell it for me. I'm really happy with this build. I'm not going to worry too much about the detail over in this area as much as I did over here. I'm kind of happy with how it's sized and how it functions in terms of the simulation. And over here back at the mine, I think that's just a fine level of detail for me for that for now. I will probably work on another big mine build at some point, and I don't want to go into too much detail on that here because I want to save some of that stuff for a later build. Right now I'm just pretty stoked on these timber rafts. This is actually an idea that I got from City Skylines 1. I actually commissioned an asset called the Timber Raft. If you're still playing that and you want to go check it out, I'll leave a link in the description to the Steam Workshop page. It was made by Evangeline, and it actually floats and it kind of bobs with the water. These don't do that, but I think I will live with that today. Well, I'm going to leave this one here. I'd like to thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. Really looking forward to seeing what generic Lemons and Sunny Scunny get up to in their builds. This is just such an awesome opportunity to get to collab with these guys, and yeah, I'm looking forward to the future of this series. Hopefully we can speed it up a little bit with these smaller builds with just a couple tiles. We'll see how it goes. We might adjust things on the fly. Thank you so much for watching. Happy building, and take care.